And I hope we can leave it alone. Everybody there?
Everybody's here.
All right. It's recorded. And let's leave it alone until we finish. I won't touch nothing. No commercial. Let's just go through. All right. Um, we asked what the beneficiary who Natasha now. Who are the beneficiary for the prosperity gospel?
Can you see me? Am I connected? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we could see you now. Yeah.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
see you, but we
Um,
can hear you also.
the beneficiaries of the prosperity gospel are those who are taught it and applied it. Because I don't think everybody understand what prosperity gospel is and how to use it. So whoever understands it, that profits from it, I guess the generation next have it, benefit from it.
Muted.
Muted.
You're muted.
Muted.
Who are the beneficiary of the prosperity gospel?
Who's answering?
You. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you. So it go back to before the recording was interrupted. Prosperity, the message. Prosperity is the mindset. Poverty is the mindset. The gospel is the message, right? So you asking me who is the beneficiary of prosperity gospel? I'll say it. Those people who really benefits from it genuinely is those, like Natasha said, those who understand what the Bible says about prosperity. And also those who understand that prosperity is not just about your money, it's about your life, your health, your business, your future, and everything you put your hands to. It's more than just the money you make. Now, those who don't benefit is those who only see prosperity as the money that you make. And as soon as they don't see money coming, they have a poverty mindset. And they end up being destroyed by that poverty mindset because they don't understand what prosperity is. So I will say, just to put in a nutshell, Ms. Natasha is the same thing. Those who understand what prosperity is and understand what the scripture says about prosperity is the ones who will benefit from that.
Let me read a scripture verse. Acts chapter 4 and verse 32. All the believers were of one heart, one mind. No one claimed that any of their possession was their own, but they shared everything they had. With great power, the apostles continued to testify of the resurrection of the Lord Jesus, and God's grace was powerfully at work in all that they were in all that there were no needy person among them. For from time to time, those who own house or land or houses sold them and brought the money of the sales and put them at the apostles' feet, and it was distributed to anyone who had need. Question is, who are the beneficiary right now? You all trying to sugarcoat the thing of the prosperity gospel. And not there. I'm not seeing Natasha. She probably log out. But a breathe water. Who are
Yeah.
the beneficiary?
What we are talking about, the focus tonight, is the prosperity gospel that is preached tonight. So
Yeah, what has been teach
it
in
is the
churches
part,
today?
because from what you read there, the church had offices set up for the needs of the widows, the widowers, and a benevolence. They were set up at the time. But how many churches? Some of them we hear them on the radio, on the telly, and they're probably operating out of their house. And we are taught today, if you don't give, you don't get. And we are actually forced to offer money. And these people, not only money they brought up the substance, what they had, and it was distributed. But today, everything is money, 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 money.
Who get the money?
The pastors and whoever.
Well, say that now. I'm trying to bite your mouth. The prosperity gospel only benefit the pastors.
Those who are preaching it, yes.
They don't preach. They don't. The people not getting richer. Who benefit? Where am I? Sorry. You are the victim of the poverty gospel.
Now, if you're talking about the one that has been preached outside the kingdom, right? If you're talking about the fake,
I tell you what's going on in the church.
If you're talking about the one that is not scriptural, the church has been the victim of it because it goes back to where the pastors misuse it to enrich themselves.
Well, Natasha, I lost Natasha.
Yeah, she's with me here now.
Yeah, my phone is not linking in.
Okay, so you all can share. So we still want our opinion. Who are the victim of prosperity gospel of poverty gospel?
You hear the question?
In the kitchen where?
Who is the victim of the poverty gospel?
Kitchen where?
The victims are who is teaching the so-called poverty gospel and teaching them according to their will and their way. That is the people who are maybe suffering from it.
What?
I don't know.
Okay.
As the victim of poverty gospel, to I thought you asked me the victim of prosperity gospel. So if you want
No.
we probably
who becoming poorer? Why we preach people not to invest, not to develop? Who are the people that get poorer in the entire game? The pawn game that is being played in church. The pawn scheme.
Well, in the church, because I'll just be honest.
When you say the church, I don't understand. The church is an organization.
I would say
the church can't get poor.
No, it was the people who lack the of what the pastor said on the pulpit and just running behind of it because he have an agenda and you just follow for his agenda are the one that end up being a victim of poverty. It is just that simple. Because anytime the message of prosperity misused, it becomes the poverty gospel, and that's the destruction of the poor. It is that simple.
I want to ask all of you a question. Does the prosperity gospel change the poverty syndrome? Brother Bridgewater, can I let me hear that? Does the prosperity gospel change the poverty syndrome among believers?
As I said before, that one of the things that emphasized in the Bible is to be wise. Be as wise as a serpent. I forgot the term. But be wise. Exercise wisdom. We were taught, because when I was a child, it was taught that riches is sin. When you're rich, it is
you go in hell.
Going through the eye of a needle is easier for a camel to go to the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter into the kingdom. And that poverty. And you made a good quote now about Jimmy Cliff. the pie in the sky. I rather be a free man in my grave, you know, than inherit riches and all these kind of things, you know. I rather have,
Then
well,
live like a puppet on a
yes,
string.
yes. And I tell you, the mind, when once you can control the mind of person. I heard a story about this guy who convinced the emperor he was naked as he's born and convinced him that he had on clothes. And the emperor believed it. And he saw many persons in church. Just the other day, looking at a movie. This man is a contractor. Somebody gave him a huge sum of money as a deposit to start a project. He came home, explained to his wife. No sooner than he put down the money, the wife jumped into it, took out 10% out of it, and took it to the pastor. And the man had the money for a specific job, and she go and took out his money. And that, you know, relationship, because the mind is conditioned. These people can preach such a thing that it condition your mind and cause you to do foolishness.
Music man. Hmm?
Ask the question again.
Okay, let me hold on there. Okay, let me ask a question to you. How to get out of poverty?
How to get out of poverty.
Only way to get out of poverty is to change your mindset.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
I,
because
I,
you have to
you,
change your mindset. Okay, if you have a mindset of poverty, and let me tell you what the mindset of poverty is. The mindset of poverty is where you never have enough, and you keep saying you never have enough, and you start doing foolishness just to hope you have enough, or you keep thinking that I always broke. Once you have that always broke mindset, you already put yourself in a poverty status. So you need to change your mindset and change your way of doing things to get out of that mindset. Like the example I gave before the program was rudely interrupted by the internet, where I watched a skit where a man, he was poor, he was on the street, somebody sold him a case of water. He starts selling that case of water and making some dollars. And he keep buying more kits and reselling to the point he was able to build and have his own shop. And I say this to tell you, it was the mindset that he had got him out of the situation. So he may have been destitute in the physical, but in the spiritual or in the mental, he came out of that mindset. But when you keep your mind where I'll never have enough, or I'll be broke, and even when, sometimes you will get money and you're confused and don't know what to do with it to the point you never think you have enough. Ah, that is poverty. Poverty is not just looking destitute. And poverty is what destroy you mentally, physically, and spiritually. It's just facts.
Okay, Natasha, how to get out of poverty? We're going back, you know, we're going.
How to get out of poverty?
remember the quotation.
It is just about an hour ago. I said an hour and a half ago when we were driving from Denver to Colorado Springs. And I looked up and I saw a sign that said, things can only change if things change. And I thought it was a very powerful statement on a billboard, literally saying that because the only way things can change is if things change. So your mindset have to change, your will, your drive, your passion, your determination, activity, and seeing a goal have to change in order for change for the betterment of what the community of the area, whatever you say. And I think I'm gonna go back to past and also right now. Um, I think in the church, a lot of people are going to church for healing, for for change in their life, for blessing to reach God at a certain level. And we are programmed so many times going back to your paying your 10% in order for you to have this prosperity gospel. In order for you to
With a good
prosper in your
trade.
health, you
Yeah.
gotta tithe.
Yeah.
In order for you to prosper in your finances, don't pay yourself first. The rich people say, no matter what, pay yourself first and then your bills after. The church says, pay me first, even if you don't have no money. You paying yourself first, it protects your family and yourself, because that paying yourself, if you're smart, you're investing that money. But the church is, I don't care what your problem is. You could be losing your house today. You pay your 10% and God gonna bless you. You ain't gonna lose your house. The pastor is the one getting rich. No, I'm not saying that God is not gonna bless you. But the mindset is, if you don't pay this 10%, you're not going to be blessed. If you don't do this, you're not going to be moving forward. So that spirit of discernment and wisdom is important for each person to know when truth and foolishness is being spoken, and when you have something in front of you, how to invest it to make it grow and thus not make it stay stagnant. That's the only way you could get out of poverty.
Brother Bridgewater, let me ask you a question. It's a little tough one on you, I know. Does the pastor want to be blessed?
Well, most of them today, many of them think that they're God sent, because they would tell
Yeah,
you
but
that
if,
the Lord's anointed. So they think they have arrived. And many of them, again, many of them are not really of the gospel. They know the word, they know the Bible, because that's where we get our instruction from. They know it, and they know how to manipulate it. They
but
in
let,
other words, like they're gods to themselves. Some of them would even tell you we are little gods. We are gods.
let me ask you, if the pastor say, give and the Lord will bless you, why they don't give? Give us 1 minute of everybody else. The
Well,
pastor say, give and the Lord will bless you. Why pastors don't give?
well, many of them, like I said, they give, they come in front and they throw in a couple $100 bill and hold them up that you could see, you know. But who knows what happens when it gets in the back? They don't tell you give, they show you that they're putting in, they boast of how much that they put in. But we don't know. We don't know the heart of man.
Okay. Natasha, then Junior.
Ask the question again so I could answer it correctly.
Does the pastor want to be blessed? They ask to give, but they don't give.
I remember some time back in one of our sessions, we were talking about that. And I said, remember when the pastor told me that I had a tongue like a snake? That was
Mhm.
because I approached them, and my thing was, it was 7 of us in a room, and the pastor said, um, throwing out a number, 10,000, right? You know that your friend is $10,000 in debt. We have 7 people in here. Mind you, it was 8 of us. We have 7 people in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7. So we all can give to make this money come together as one. So the pastor wife was the one that calculated that herself. And when I was like, you calculated everybody but you. That's not right. If you're gonna like include yourself. So then no, she like, oh, okay, let me include myself. And that's when she pulled me aside, like, how could you do something like that? And I have also seen, just to say that we're giving, pastors let you know we are going to donate $10,000. We're going to donate $1,000. You can just simply give $500 or $25. They let you know what they're giving, and you should be able to match what they're giving. And I have reached a point so much that I don't want to go to another conference because I have been to a 7-day conference feeling totally blessed. And the last night, if you don't give 5,000, they ask you for $5,000. Okay, you don't have 5,000. Let's drop it to 4. They drop it all the way to $100, and they had people that did 10,000, 5,000, until this day they haven't paid up because we were told at the end of the conference, all this blessing you receive, you must tithe for it so that you should receive the blessing. And the last pastor that spoke at that conference was the one who tell you about the reason why you should be blessed. And he spoke everything about how he invested, what he got back, what he did, what he done. And the mindset of the people there is like, I want that too. So if I tithe, I will get that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, are they truly tithing? Everybody, the heads, most of the heads of the churches, like you said, are not genuine. They know that the church is where money flows. And if you could manipulate people, they would take the clothes off the back and sell their house and give you everything. And you sit fat and happy while your own congregation suffering.
Bro-
Yeah.
Brother Bridgewater, I've heard from you.
That, you know, people manipulate. They sit and they make a plan how they're gonna get people to give to, like they say, to milk you, and they just sit down and do that. While it is true the church needs money, you know, it needs money to function, to do the different things, but not the people should not be manipulated. Because you look at the story with Ananias and Sapphira, when they brought the gifts, while it is true they conspired and they were not really truthful, but look how Peter came down on them. Peter came, I mean, people accused, say Peter killed them, you know, but that's a different story.
It's a story. It's a story.
The story,
And
And
sometimes we
sometimes
forget it's a story, not the reality.
not
I,
going to do it, are you?
you know, we're forgetting that a lot of times. It's a
Mm,
story because it was designed to create fear. I want to ask
yes.
Music Man and then come back around. What does the church do with its money?
That's a good question to ask. What the
We got
church do?
15 more minutes to go.
You ask, what does the church do with their money?
Mhm.
It's a good
They
question to
collect
ask.
every Sunday. Every week they collect money. What they do with the money?
With that, you need to ask that. It all depends on the church institution because every church have different product that they involve in and what they choose to put the money towards. But most of the times, I'll be honest with
Name
you,
one.
one of them is to pay the pastor. And that's one of the things they do. One of the things they do also is to pay the musicians, and I would know because I'm a hired musician as well, you know. So and I heard when I was playing one time, I heard the pastor say one time, when we went ahead and and even when they went and they sowed, I felt that to sow a seed there, or sow a seed, one a big seed, you know. 'Cause I'm not gonna give more than what I give my home church, but I get them a small seed, you know. 'Cause I felt led to do it. And then she talked about even though you give her, of course she know things in the church has to get done, and one of the things that has to be done is paying the musicians, you know, because and also there are other things in the church has to be done. While there are some who misuse the money to do a lot of things concerning them, and the church is struggling. So it all depends on which church you go into. And I'm just gonna keep it real. I have seen it to where there was a church I attended growing up, and I had to talk to the brother about it, ask them what's going on. why because they need people to be able to, sponsor and what's not. But if they want people to sponsor like that, why is it, that it's been so many years since you were minors, you were working on this project? What were you doing? What were they doing with the tithe and the offering that has been placed into the church over the years? And I kind of roundabout excuse it, though it kind of made sense to a point. But my thing is, I mean, there are some churches that don't know how to manage money, and they are very careless with what they do with their money. Sometimes, and that's really what the answer to the question. Those who understand true leadership and understand money management, they manage the money and put it in places where it's supposed to go. And those who don't know how to manage money, the truth of the matter is, they just have either have the money sitting down with their poverty mindset that the church will never have, and just having people just milking the members in the name of God, and then they give in, and they don't see anything happening with the money that they're giving into whatever you see that you're sowing into. And I'll leave it right there.
Natasha, what does the church do with its money?
That's a question of the century, the millennium, whatever you want to say. It's a question that's always being asked. Now, it goes back to the individual church or churches because, like I say, now that I'm here in the United States, I see things differently to how it was when I was in the islands. And I can say, like I said, it goes back to the individual church. I could think of one church that is always asking for money. I feel like you never stop giving towards it, but they're always doing something in Africa, right? And you see the results of it. You see where it's going.
You see pictures, but you're not
Yeah.
sure if that
No,
is
no,
it.
no. We know because the pastor himself go, and you get reports, you get all these stuff. So we know that that's genuine. Then I know of another church that actually say we get in land, and they got the land. They got this. They're showing you budget sheets and telling you where the money is going. And this is like only two churches out of God knows how many churches I have been to that could actually tell you where the money is going, and you could see the building fund building. Yeah. So that goes back to the church and investments, and I don't think I don't think prosperity was for me growing up was never taught, never shown as an example in church that this is how it should be. Because Dad and I have this conversation all the time. You know, thinking about it now as we ask this question, I can think about people who work in the bank, who's on the board, who is the treasurer, and they never said, well, let's invest the same building fund into a high yield savings account. They never said nothing like that. So how you could have people in the church if the pastor doesn't know these things, who knows better and still didn't teach this and suggest these kind of things. So to me the church is just more about let's pay the pastors and let's not teach the members about the importance of handling your money and how to make your money grow because it's just more focus. And that will tell you that in the past month, the conversation is I'm so mad that the things that I'm learning now about money investment stock that I never learned when I was in my 20s. Because if I knew what I knew then, I would wait down. And because of this, I'm making sure that children that are 20, 24 years old and younger and things, not from the church, but at starting at home.
Brother Bridgewater.
As I listen to that, I remember when our dear sister, your cousin's Jill father, when he passed.
Mm-hmm.
You remember we were at the Moravian Church.
Yeah.
And the pastor, in her message, um, called your name and said she need to speak to you after the service. And
I remember.
both of us went. And the conversation, you know, not going into details, but she felt kind of good to see how our membership supported the sister there. And she asked her some questions, about money and how we go about things and whatnot. And she went on to say how much trouble she has getting offerings and gifts from the congregation because for the maintenance of the what is it, three churches that they have in the island, it costs them about $90,000 per month maintenance. You remember that?
I remember we had a conversation, but I cannot remember the numbers.
But she gave a high number of what it costs to maintain these I think it's four churches they have there. And while it is true, but many churches they get the money and they put it in the bank and they just want to know that they have a big savings account. But they don't do nothing with the money. But they want you bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it. Just build up the account, build up the account, build up the account. That's what many churches do. And those again who promise you the pie in the sky, and those who promise you the more money you bring, the more you are blessed. And I don't know. They fatten themselves because every minute they're flying out first class, have the best car, have everything of the best.
Well, let me go. Our last question there is now 9:34. And the last question is why the church has leaders, population, population of poverty than prosperous people. No, to put it simple. Why there are so many poor people in church and less prosperous people? Let me go music man and we come down the line.
I'm glad you asked me first because funny enough, my wife and I were just talking about it, up to tonight. The reason why there's more poor people in church than they have prosperous people is their mindset. I've seen it growing up. They have a lot of broke thinking people inside the church. And because they were programmed to think broke, they were programmed to think they will never have enough. They were programmed in so many funny ways that when you begin to speak prosperity for what it really is, it's like you're talking Greek. And that's just the truth. When you start telling them about the way how you manage finances, and I've seen it even at church conferences. I'm not going to call the name of the church because some things are better left unsaid.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
And we are not here to discriminate anybody's, and as per the disclaimer, we're not here to discriminate anybody's church, race, creed, religion, anybody's opinions. So, but I would just concentrate and tell you, I've been to church conferences where as soon as you begin to really dive deep and showing them the reality of how to really prosper, when you speak on those things, it becomes an issue to the point where things that could have been done because of the mindset, they decide to let it pass and the situation escalates. So you ask me why you have more poor people in church than you have prosperous people? Because we were programmed to think to have a poverty mindset. And then the very few people decide to go and get wisdom to know what it is to prosper, not just in your money, but also your health, your family, your business, and everything you put your hands to. I'll leave it there.
Okay, Natasha, why there are so many poor people in church as
I
compared to rich, prosperous people?
I totally agree with Music Man. It is the mindset of the what was brought before us and what was taught to us. And I could tell you from personal experience and thinking back, as like I said, this is a conversation that Dad and I have been having for the past 2 months, right? And like I said, there's one pastor that always say, get out of that poverty mindset and start to think that dreams become a reality. And then you know what? Pray that those who lose their dreams and don't want to use it, just pray that God throws it at you so that you could have it since they're wasting time. You know? But I think that the church has a weak mentality back then. I'm now I think after COVID, I'm now hearing pastors talking about prosperity and stuff like that. Not much, minimal amount of pastors speaking about growth in a poverty way, especially houses and better houses, money and more money and stuff like that, and reading proverbs to help guide you into that aspect. But growing up, I remember Dad and I went shopping, and a member in the church house, and it was like, you guys must be rich because your cart is full of groceries. And I was like, what? We just shopping. You don't know how we were shopping for ourselves and also for another person. So we had two cart full of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But just the fact that there was like you have to be rich in order to be carrying so much groceries in your in your cart was very offensive for them. And that's it. We were never taught. You were only taught to just give the pastor. Never taught about you should be rich. You should have a house. You should take your investments. You should raise up your children to have savings account, not stretching out your hands for others to help. And I think a lot of people are in church seeking for more. And if they were taught right, the churches, the generations, everything would just prosper. But when the pastor themselves don't have that passion, knowledge, or lack of self, or too much selfishness in them, this is the problem that we have as to why the church is more poor and the people outside richer. Some of them don't even want to play the lottery because it's dirty money. They don't want the drug man to come into church to get blessed because he's a drug man and we don't want that money. This is conversation I heard by myself, and that was on that same thing, that
Yeah.
same podcast. I was like, why wouldn't you take the drug man money and bless it after? They ain't worried about if the money came from someplace else.
Mhm.
But they feel that money has to be holy, but the money's not circulating in the church.
You're muted. You're muted, Pastor.
Yeah, I have a problem there.
Okay, hearing you now.
Okay, my stay hook in the phone. All right, I'll get it out. A lot of things happening tonight. A lot of things are happening beyond my measure. All right. I gotta get another battery cord. The question is, you brother Water, why there so many poor people in church? Why they're so poor?
Well, again, we're talking about from a Caribbean standpoint, but here in mainland, I think everybody has a level of richness that financial that they can give. But in the Caribbean, like I said earlier, we were taught that way, that we must be satisfied with what we have. Little is much when God is in it. And we're not, even though Jesus spoke about the investing in the talents and whatnot, It just brought as a reminder, but it's not a lesson that is really taught that we can grasp it and put it to work for us. But we were taught, like everything else, to be a consumer. All the money we have, we spend it on buying stuff rather than investing. If we were taught how to invest and curtail our spending, start some savings, start investment, we could be a better people. While it is true, I don't know if it is the church's duty, but I think it is part of the church's duty to teach the children, because we tell them, the church tell you little is much when God is in it. So bring your little and come. And when you bring it, you are blessed and whatnot. And like the Tasha said just now, there's one pastor I know where somebody gave a big donation to his church in St. Thomas. And the board decided they didn't want it because they figured he got it through he got his money through illegal means, and they didn't want that part of it. And they insisted that the pastor give it back to him. The pastor said, you could talk, this is the Lord's money, I'm going to hold on to it. The money has nothing to do with whatever means he had. The money is pure. And he held on to the money, and he was able to use that money to invest in the church, in the building. And so it is, understanding makes the difference. Many people become wise too late, others just in time. And that's why we have so many poor people, because you come to church, you believe that there's a pie in the sky, you believe that the Lord going to do this for you, manna is going to come down from heaven, and you're going to find it in the street. And that mentality is still plaguing the church today. Are you there? Uh, no, music man, are you there? Hello, music man. Yeah, yeah, he gone. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, looks like the host has had some technical difficulties on his end of the studio. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and just wrap it up. But but on a reality check, we really did discuss something very fruitful tonight, and we really see the reality of the matter of this whole prosperity thing. Nothing is wrong with prosperity. And I mean that'll be my final word. I'm not gonna sit down there and take up the one night. Not around with prosperity. You see what I'm saying? What the problem is when you misuse prosperity and when you mismanage money in the name of poverty. Poverty is a deadly thing, and what Elder Bridgewater says is exactly the example we're talking about. At where people, they want to do things, but as soon as it's going to cause, you have to make some kind of investment, it becomes a problem. They get confused. And like you mentioned about the guy that, they think because they think he's coming from illegal activity, but they are ignorant of the whole truth. They say they don't want to touch that money. Now, that this whole poverty might just get people just going numb. But I mean, that's all we got to see tonight. So, my final word is look, nothing is wrong with prosperity, but don't misuse it to manipulate people. And poverty is of Satan, because poverty is the destruction of the poor. I don't know what Elder Bridgewater have to say next, but that's my final words.
Well, I tend to agree with you. The message of the God that we prosper in what we do, as our soul prosper, and prosperity um, is lifting, that we be lifted. Um, if you are lifted up, you are a blessing, and people would look to you as that blessing, so that they too would be lifted up. But when you're down there, who wants to be down there? Who wants to be satisfied? And when we are prosperous, we can pass a good message on to the next generation.
Right, I agree. You know, one thing my apostles at my home church will say, he's not called to people who are satisfied, who want to be satisfied.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
not called to that kind of people. Now, some people are called to them, but not him. And you got to know who you're called to, because
yeah.
he don't just tell you about Bible, Bible, Bible.
Mm-hmm.
He don't tell you about just prospering your money. Yes, he's not afraid to talk about money in church because he's not of no poverty mindset. But you have to teach people how to prosper in their livelihood.
That's right.
And if you're just telling people how to prosper in their money but not in their livelihood, you're basically taking all their money while they're struggling. And
Yeah,
nobody wants that.
yep, yep, yep. That's right. Mm.
And
Unity.
then using the gospel of prosperity to hypnotize them to fill up your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And then telling people what they must give. Now you can challenge people to give and stretch themselves. But if they don't have it, you cannot make them do it.
That's right. Yep, yep, yep.
All you have to say. And Ms. Natasha, any last words you want to do? So want to say before we end up tonight?
I said that was uh, you were
Yeah,
talking
we can.
that 10% of tithing, and as I'm studying more, I'm questioning that, like really. But my honest opinion is I do not mind paying my 10% because I know that whether it was 10, 15, 20, whatever the Bible said, my thing is that God gave it to me and I don't have a problem giving it to fulfill the ministry.
Mm-hmm.
What you as a pastor decide to do with that, that's between you and God. My thing is, like I said, I'm doing this to give to the honor and glory of God. But I do know that my 10% is not only money. It could be my time, it could be my words, it could be my actions. Right? And if getting out of the spiritual part of it, the biblical part of it, if somebody doesn't go to church, are you trying to tell that person they're not going to make it to heaven or they're not going to prosper because they didn't give their 10% to the church when they have no way to be next to a church? So that poverty mentality is a man-made thing to suppress people and to maybe make that individual person prosper. But once you have that spirit of discernment and wisdom, and you know to hear from God and trust God, He will guide you through to faith without works is dead. So you have to do your part. You have to save your money. You have to invest your money. You have to make your money multiply. You have to do these things in a prosperous way. It not only will bless yourself, but in a way that it can also bless others. And that's where the prosperity comes in.
Amen to that. Yeah, and I believe in putting your 10% because, the Bible says, bring the tithes to the stores, there'll be meat in my house. Now, how you play it out and where you put it, that's between you and God. If God give you a store to put it in, put it there. Now, if you go put it in some storehouse where God never tell you to, for example, people will tell you, okay, I give my 10% to the homeless. If the Lord tell you to do that and that's the storehouse, fair enough. I cannot make you put it into a Pentecostal church when God tell you to give it to the homeless shelter. But
Mm-hmm.
if you decide to give it to the homeless shelter because you are offended and don't want to put your money in church, even though you know it's good grounds, that is a problem you and God have to face. It's not my problem. But at the end of the day, you know, if you don't want to give, you must give from the willingness of your heart, and nobody must manipulate you to make you give anything. Now, with that being said, that was Let's Talk Sense. I'm sure the host will say the same thing. See y'all next week. Keep the faith. Keep looking up. God bless.
Likewise. God bless.
Good night.
Night. Good night. Good night. Yeah.
This thing gonna be beeping every minute?
Look here.
Doesn't it say gonna be beeping every minute? Next time,
you-
just swipe it up.
You hear what it? You see what it said?
No, I couldn't read it.